She's got the gavel. You can whack it. All right. And Madam Clerk, could we have the roll call?
Commissioner Lapis?
Here.
Commissioner Jones?
Aquí.
Commissioner Dozer? Here. Vice Chair Hill?
Here.
And for the record, Chair Herlinger is absent.
All right. Okay, let the minutes reflect those who are present. Madam Clerk, are there any proposed changes to the agenda?
Vice Chair Hill, we do not have any changes to the agenda.
Okay. Are there any cards for public comment?
Vice Chair Hill, we do not have any in-person or online public comments.
All right.
Item 5, approval of meeting minutes from November 20th, 2025.
Does anyone have any changes or modifications to the minutes that they propose?
No.
Oh, move to approve.
I second that motion.
All right. All in favor?
Motion to approve meeting minutes from November 20, 2025 passes. Item number 6, Chair and Vice Chair nominations and appointments.
Vice Chair Hill, just a reminder, for this process, you can self-nominate for a leadership position and have that seconded, or you can nominate someone else, and that motion needs to be seconded as well.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Jones to be our next chair.
I would second that.
Motion to approve Commissioner Jones as our new chair passes.
And I would nominate, if I pronounced your name wrong, please forgive me, Mr. Lopez as the vice chair.
Second.
Oh, forgot to look the vote, sorry.
Motion to approve Commissioner Lapis as vice chair passes. Item number 7, review of 2025 Fire and Police Commission work plan and development of 2026 work plan.
Good afternoon, Chair Jones and the Fire and Police Commission. Here once again to provide an update on our work plan accomplishments from last year and moving towards getting input from you on priorities for our work plan this year. So just for background, as you well know, this work plan and annual report on community oversight is required per municipal code. So it's our ordinance that assigned new duties and authorities to the Fire and Police Commission, that you would work with the police monitor role within the city administrator's office, which is my position, to create and submit an annual report and work plan to council every year around the March 1st timeline. So I just wanted to provide just a quick overview of where we've been in terms of our priorities and work over the last year. You had identified 4 different priorities for us to focus on. So these include identify and implement ways in which the community can engage more in the work of the Fire and Police Commission, coordinate with city staff to publicize meetings of the Fire and Police Commission and ensure that the public has access to relevant data and meeting materials. So I didn't check off the first priority because I felt like we did not do a deep enough focus in that area through the last year. I think there was a lot of competing circumstances and priorities, especially around federal law enforcement activities and a number of our community members feeling comfortable in public spaces and in public meetings, and how best to kind of build trust and rapport for that engagement. And I will fully admit that the city administrator's office staff was also dealing with competing priorities. So I think the bandwidth that we have support you this year and focusing on this a little bit more is definitely there. The second piece here is that we have regular publicizing of commission meetings. So we have a templated kind of announcement that goes out both through our social media platforms as well as our city news and brief. So every kind of pathway that we have to utilize to publicize meetings, we are utilizing that. And then we're continuing to work on posting both staff presentations for accessibility on our website, as well as now every board and commission has been standardized to mirror the council landing page. So you have the live recorded meeting that's easily accessible along with the English language agenda as well as the Spanish agenda, and then those staff presentations being uploaded to support that as well. So that was kind of a huge undertaking across the citywide organization, but I think folks are really appreciating that level of standardization. Other two objectives included gaining a better understanding of the investigatory process for complaints of police misconduct and use of force incidents. So we did do a deeper dive and smaller sessions with the police chief to kind of go through some investigations and what that process was, how the process was conducted, how the investigation was conducted, and the findings of that investigation. I do think it was a really good setting for the commission to be able to go deeper into the process itself, being able to ask questions, and I think that that is definitely an avenue that we can keep pursuing into this year, as well as using opportunities through a public forum where we can educate the broader community about these incidents and how they're investigated. The other piece was receiving additional training and consultation on the commission, how the commission exercises its ability to make public statements. Again, this is a deeper dive that we want to do with the city attorney's office. I do think that that's something that we can focus on going into this year. We have a new staff attorney assigned to us, Ariel Zamora. She wasn't able to be here today because of a conflicting conference, but she will be joining us in the future, and I think that's, again, a great opportunity for us to do a deeper dive there. A city attorney, John Doimus, has also mentioned to me going deeper into kind of the civil liabilities and understandings of law enforcement and their role and, what kind of parameters what we're always working in. I think we did a little bit of that in your initial training and orientation, but our city attorney had mentioned that as an opportunity for further education moving forward, which I think was a great suggestion. So we'll look at kind of including that in our future agenda planning as well. So I just always want to take an opportunity to reflect back on the other work that we did, outside of those priorities. We do have now our annual reporting requirement. So at the start of the first quarter of this year, we'll also receive these now standardized annual reports from the police department and the fire department. Obviously, those include the annual report on complaints investigations. We have the use of force annual report. We have the required kind of report on use of military equipment funding, acquisition, and use, which is required by state law. And then we also have the RIPA annual report. So those will continue to be standardized reports that we will receive in the upcoming months. And I think, again, it's created a level of expectation for the community to know that the reports are coming, that media has already reached out in anticipation that these reports would be forthcoming. And we're able to now compare year over year data, which has been, I know, helpful to the commission to have that broader understanding and perspective. Other topics we dove a bit into. So we did, at the start of the year, last year, do an update to our tow rotation list and policies as well as fees. This was long overdue and something that, again, kind of writes the course on both cost recovery of that process, but also folks understanding what that tow rotation list and policy is. The statement about the Santa Barbara Police Department policy on immigration violations. So again, this was distributed far and wide. This was done through City Council as well as our city administrator statement on the issues and concerns that we are experiencing in our local community and continue to experience, and then the chief sharing that publicly with the Fire and Police Commission. We had the overview of the Fire Prevention Bureau, the new Blue Envelope program that the police department initiated to help individuals with neurodiverse needs be able to kind of be forefront in how law enforcement engages with them and interacts with them to the benefit of them as well as their safety. The Regional Fire Communications Center, again, the launch and opening of that huge undertaking continues to be a very significant undertaking, and we've received regular updates on the progress there as well. And then the launch of the new Genesis evacuation software, both really important and critical to the community and our ability to respond to disasters in a way that ensures the safety of all of our community members, but also for our future planning and efforts around emergency management and response. So that was our year last year. And really want to take this opportunity, one, to highlight our usual process, which is we bring kind of an update of where we've been the last year, work that still needs to be done. We finalize and adopt a work plan for the upcoming year. So I'll take input from you today on what your priorities, what you want the priorities for the commission to be moving forward. We'll come back at the next meeting in February to refine and adopt that plan, and then we'll move to submit that plan to council. The date that we have tentative so far is March 10th. So these questions are for you. Your priorities for the year, important topics and agenda items you'd like to cover, and really welcome your suggestions on future community engagement. I have a few ideas percolating on my end. I think there's an opportunity to work across city advisory groups as well, and make sure that we're meeting community members where they are, in places that are comfortable and approachable and trusted for them. But I really welcome any and all suggestions you have on making sure that both the commission is accessible, the city work that we do through the commission is accessible, and that we're leveraging other opportunities for community engagement as we advance the work on behalf of the Fire and Police Commission. All right. Welcome
Thank
your
you.
questions and comments.
Any questions or from the commission?
Are we to move into talking about priorities for the year at this point in time?
Yes, yeah.
I'll just leverage on one from last year, which was the community engagement and the mechanical problems that we had with the attempts to do that in places other than the council chambers because of the loss of essentially an ability to project that for the community. And I don't know if there's any solution to that problem. And of course, we have, the inherent problem of the Brown Act in the way in which we try to work with the community. So I don't have solutions to that, but I think these are questions that we should try to explore to some extent. Is there a way in which we can be open to the community in places where the community is likely to feel comfortable? And I understand that this is a difficult environment now. And also have it be a meeting of record.
Commissioner Hill, you bring up a very good point. I think we continually try to work and identify spaces that are accessible in terms of our ability to record, even if it's not a live recording, that it can be filmed and uploaded to our YouTube channel at a later date. I do think we have a couple of more spaces than just council chambers now. A Faulkner Gallery at the library and other settings we'll be utilizing both for council, special council meetings and other community engagement meetings. I know it's not quite the level of accessibility that we're looking for in terms of in community and neighborhood, but it allows kind of a recording to occur. And there's also the possibility of us having smaller sessions where 1 or 2 members of the commission can join an existing community group or existing community meeting. It does not have to be Brown Act notice, but that you could report back to this forum, kind of the dialogue that you were participating in, what you heard, and how that dialogue could translate to the work of the commission overall. So we could identify opportunities kind of for existing outlets, and 1 or 2 members of the commission can say, you know, I'm up for attending, and be a listening ear and being kind of that liaison. So happy to kind of work around some of those restrictions. And I think for Brown Act too, it's if we are in a community setting, just making sure that it's fully accessible to all members of our community and their needs, that we're publicizing that appropriately, so folks know that we're not in council chambers and we're in a different location. We've also used audio recording as well, and if video recording wasn't available. So we can continue to be creative depending on kind of where we feel we need to be to have that and facilitate that community engagement. Yeah.
As usual, you have many good ideas.
I appreciate the suggestion, though. Thank you for the question.
Commissioner Labuse?
Thank you very much. I thought your review was pretty spot on. And I appreciate that in the course of the year, we have these regular periodic reviews of activities like you've listed on the first slide, and would continue to do that throughout the rest of this year. The only suggestion or idea I have is, while we focus obviously on police and fire activities and during the year, I appreciate that there's probably some integration with other city functions or departments. As an example, I really like when we had presentations from the Public Works Department, and the lady talked to us about accident locations, all those related things. And I think we need to be more, as a group or even as a member, more integrated or connected to some of those key city functions and departments. Because as we can imagine, police and fire almost impact the whole community, and there's more touch points that I think we'd like to be more connected with.
That's a great suggestion. We can definitely come up with some opportunities to have more cross-departmental collaboration and sharing information and reporting out. It's great. Thank you.
Ms. Clerk, for the record, can we just please note that Commissioner Hillinger has arrived?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments with regards to this? Oh, I have a question. I think we talked previously about setting up a tour of the Regional Fire Communications Center. I wanted to kind of circle back to that. I don't know if Chief Mills wanted to respond to that later, but
We can definitely do that.
thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing and hearing none. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
Ms. Clerk, can we please move on to the next agenda item?
Item 8, Santa Barbara Fire Department Incident Reporting Data.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Chris Males, your fire chief. Happy to be here this afternoon. Good to see everybody. This will be a report on our quarterly statistics, so October through December. And then shortly we'll be doing our annual statistics, which will include everything from incident response, fire prevention, community education. We'll be showing you our social media, and how impactful that is in the community. But for this report, this is just going to be from October through December. But I did want to start very briefly with just a synopsis since our last meeting. So we met last month, and we daylighted the standards of cover study to you. Subsequently, on December 9th, largely the same presentation was done for City Council, was very well received. The 9 significant findings out of the standards of cover study were very well received by council, very engaged, very supportive. So the only ask we had at the conclusion of the council meeting was to seek funding for a fire station feasibility and station location study. So as I mentioned to you, it's really a 3-part study that looks at the current condition of our stations, looks at the earthquake condition or whether they can withstand an earthquake, and then also looking at whether our stations are correctly placed in our community and if there be a need for a different location or even an additional station. Proud to say and very pleased that we were able to contract with the same company that did our standards of cover study, and everything is signed and our meetings start with this company next week. So they expect a 4 to 5 month timeline for this report to be done, and it's going to be a really significant report for us to be able to take a really, really good look at the condition of all of our stations and where for the future they could be placed. And again, whether we have, whether we could go with a fewer station, probably not, or whether we potentially could use additional stations. So all of that will be covered. And then almost by happenstance, because we have a vacant position, received authority from the city manager to immediately fund the emergency medical services manager. If you remember from last month, I said before we look at any increasing level of service to our community, we need to have the backbone in place. We need to have a person, at least one person, looking over our emergency medical services program on a full-time basis. So again, very pleased that we're in the final stages of putting together the job flyer to put that position out relatively quickly. So and word has kind of trickled out, and there's already interest out there. So it should be a successful recruitment, and we will have a nurse or physician assistant level professional position overseeing our current emergency medical response, in addition to looking at enhancements and services over the next years. So just wanted to let you know that was an update from last month. That's a pretty quick turnaround, in my opinion, so I was happy to see that. So moving on to incident data from October through December, trending exactly where we expect. Just as a reminder, we moved to the Regional Dispatch Center in June of 2025, so we are sitting at about 6 months at the Regional Center. So this data is actually incident response out of the Regional Center. I mentioned to you before, and it bears repeating, that the center is up and running, but the data collection, the data metrics, all of how we gather information and how we're able to extrapolate all of that dispatch information is still being developed. And so the forward-facing part of the dispatch center, in other words, the 911 system, the dispatching of the units, sending the right resource to the right patient, cross-jurisdictional response, all that great stuff is happening. In the background, we're working on the data collection so that it is really comprehensive, and so that it's really available at our fingertips. And I even said in the past that there may be even a public-facing dashboard that shows what response times are to what parts of the city and that kind of thing. We've got the county just a couple of weeks ago signed a multi-year contract with a consultant who will be the data analyst for the center. So good stuff is going to be coming. This information comes out of our reports that are actually written. So what happens is the incident is handled and the incident is pushed to the fire captain, who then completes the report via computer. That's where we gathered this data, and that program is called Image Trend. And so we have gathered the Image Trend reports, and that's where we're getting this information. Another side note is this data is what's called NFIRS reporting, National Fire Incident Reporting System. We have switched to an entire new fire records management system for the entire nation. And that occurred across different states at different times. We switched to an entire new reporting system on January 1st, which is called NERIS, which is the National Emergency Response Information System. So the whole platform of data collection has changed. It's actually been fairly seamless for us. The captains at the station, there's just, it's different formats, different boxes to fill out, things like that. And there's more data that's being collected. So ENFRS has gone away and NERIS was adopted for us. So moving forward, you won't see a difference, but for us, we're collecting the data via a different platform. So back to the statistics, you can see that for the quarter, 3,136 calls. I can tell you we're sitting right at about 12,000 calls for the calendar year of 2025, sitting exactly where we were last year. So the numbers are fairly the same. Remember that fires, 55 fires, that's fires. Okay, that's not fire alarms ringing, that's not food on the stove, that is firefighters have to put out a fire. So the food on the stove, the fire alarms ringing, those kind of things, those are under service calls. So I just want to make sure that we understand that that's like building fires, other structure fires, that kind of thing as far as our actual fires. But again, the most impactful to our department is over 8,000 medical calls a year. Looking at response times, I apologize, I read this thing 10 times, and there's a typo, and of course I caught it at like 3 o'clock today. So the bottom number should be 81.14 seconds. So turnout time is between 70 and 80 seconds. So if you recall, that's from the time the alarm goes off in the station to the time that the firefighters are wheels rolling. So this also is capturing emergency and non-emergency calls. So a call for an investigation or something like that, the firefighters aren't going to be, although they move very swiftly, there's a difference between emergency and non-emergency response. And the same thing is reflective in the travel time. So the turnout and travel time to actual emergency incidents is likely better, but this is a query of all of our responses, the 12,000 responses. So again, between 70 and 80 seconds, but again, that's sub minute and a half to be responding. And then we continually work on turnout time to make the firefighters be more efficient. I think I've shared with you in the past, I didn't realize until I started looking at data how difficult 2-story fire stations are, because it slows up the response times. And you think, well, just go down the pole. Well, it's still physical movement and, going down a pole or the stairs, et cetera. So 1-story stations are much better for incident response. But we're continually looking at trying to better our turnout time. Travel time, that has also stayed very consistent. And as much as I would love to say, get there quicker, we have to be so careful in our city. The fire apparatus are 20 plus tons, 40,000 pounds moving through our narrow streets of Santa Barbara. Our drivers, our engineers are excellent. And so, but we have to be very careful. They don't stop on a dime. And so we have to drive very defensively. So I don't question travel time. They don't dilly-dally get into calls, but we also have to be so careful when we're going up and down narrow streets, one-way streets, things like that. Training is always huge for our department. Every crew is mandated to train a minimum of 1.5 hours per shift. That is, again, a minimum and is often exceeded in the 3 to 4 to 5 hours. Example, the last couple of days we've been having EMT recertification training, that's 3 hours. And so we go to hazardous materials operations training, that's 3 hours. And so a lot of our courses are much longer, but that's a minimum. And we would consider that if that was like a down day at the station, the captain would be responsible for setting up a minimum of 1.5 hours of training. So really 3,000 plus hours of training done over the quarter. And it hits all of our disciplines, EMS, fire, technical rescue, leadership development. That would include succession planning, water rescue, hazardous materials, airport rescue, firefighting. Another example of leadership development would be training our folks in incident simulations. We either do that in the field, or we will do that in a classroom with computer programs where we train our people to handle incidents at different levels of training, from firefighter all the way up to battalion chief. So if we were training battalion chiefs, this would be an extremely complex incident. If we're training firefighters, it's obviously more tactical related, but a battalion chief would be trained to handle a major incident. So we do that training on an ongoing basis. Community outreach, estimated to have 3,529 community members trained in different capacities and or to see our fire department over the last 3 months, including Fire Prevention Week, Farmers Market, Senior Expo, Career Days. Got to give a shout out to our police partners, Police Activities League, Trunk or Treat. We're always thankfully invited. And it's a great turnout, great event. This last year I was able to bring Donuts, the therapy dog, so she came for a visit. Lots of school outreach, and that includes at times during the year our fire safety house, which is training we provide to all third graders in our community. And then CERT is a Citizens Emergency Response Team. That is our volunteer program where we train them in disaster management and community preparedness. So that is, it's a lot of hours, but it's also very, very typical. We're trending in the 3,000 to 4,000 hours of training, and then 3,000 to 4,000 people typically in a quarter that see the fire department. I always said it's interesting, you think about our incident response at 3,000, and then also 3,000 community members saw the fire department. So I've always thought, hey, we see as many people in a public education setting as we see on incident responses. So that tells you how important that it is for us to get out to the community. And that's it, super brief. That is, in case you haven't seen it, that is our newer ladder truck. That's Truck 71 that went into service a few months ago. I think you've seen a picture of it. It is at Station 1 today, and is an absolutely gorgeous piece of equipment. We were able to secure it, I've mentioned before, via a lease purchase program. So we actually purchased 4 apparatus under this program. We were able to get 4 apparatus very quickly. So worked very well for us. So that's it. Happy to take any questions. I know Commissioner Jones, you had a question. I will get with Barbara regarding the regional dispatch. We can either do it on an official basis, but I can tell you that I really enjoy going up there. It is an amazing place, and I would be happy to take 5 different trips up there. If we can't get our schedules together, I will do a personal tour each time. It's an amazing place. Just anecdotally, I took a prospective firefighter candidate. She's looking at joining the fire service, and I said, well, why don't we just run up to regional dispatch for a little bit? We spent 2.5 hours up there, and there were over 40 calls while we were there. So she got to run around the entire center, from the call taker to the dispatcher to the tactical dispatcher that monitored the entire incident. And it was just a really good, wholesome look at how the entire system works within the dispatch center. So I'm happy to facilitate that at any time.
Thanks, Chief. Any questions for Chief Mills or comments?
I just had a question about if another fire department comes to an incident, how does that affect your travel time? In other words, could somebody be there before our fire department?
So great question. And this data specifically is only looking, so his question is how does another jurisdiction, how does another department who may respond to an incident, how is that looked at as far as travel time and incident response? So great question. This is only capturing our department. And so this is that part of the buildup of what we're doing right now in the background with our regional dispatch. So I can tell you that likely when we're able to see all of the other units responding, I will be able to provide a different report that shows all of the units that responded into the city and how long it took them to get there. Exactly as I predicted when I gave the presentation to council, I said, it is going to be very common for another agency to arrive at incidents in the city because they're actually closer. And a few weeks ago, I'll give you an example, we had a small fire at the El Encanto on a Sunday morning. The first engine on scene was County Fire Medic Engine 15 from Mission Canyon. Because, again, being on the same dispatch system, closest available resource, they were the first one to arrive. And so, back to your question, we're anticipating shorter response times with this new system.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the chief? I have one real quick, Chief. I'm glad to hear about the EMS manager position. And given the number of calls, like 2/3 of the incident responses are related to rescue and medical, is there a correlation? Because that's obviously, because that's the largest percentage of incidents that you're responding to. Is there any correlation either to that position or the need for additional positions to support the overall majority of calls that you receive?
So this will be an absolutely critical position. This person's going to wear a number of hats. On a daily basis, they're going to be reviewing emergency medical incidents. They're going to be looking at quality improvement, quality assurance, everything from response times to whether defibrillators were used, whether Narcan was used, whether this was done, whether it was done in a timely manner, just reviewing our overall performance on EMS calls, and then really looking at bigger picture items. Is there a potential for needing additional, if you're referring to support personnel? There could be, but I think this is going to be a really high-functioning position where this person's going to be able to do, again, quality assurance. They're also going to be our main educator, our nurse educator, so they'll be doing our quarterly EMT classes, et cetera. But if we were to expand into a paramedic program where we have multiple stations that are ALS, conceivably, could we use another position, say somebody focused just on training? Yeah, that's a possibility. As I've mentioned in the past, County Fire actually has 3 nurse educators that handle all of their 16 stations and all of their certified personnel. But I don't want to ask for too much too soon, and I think that I've really created this position to be almost a jack of all trades that can really, really focus just in on those calls, and I think it's going to be a really successful position.
Well, thank you. All right, thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Clerk, would you mind reading out our next agenda item?
Of course. Item number 9, Santa Barbara Police Department Mission Strategies Report.
Chair Jones, I might have to redirect my attention right now, just to looking at the center. Commissioners, good afternoon. It's great to see everybody. Before Commander Casapis starts our mission strategies report, you will see there will be some changes to what you have seen before. We have successfully hired a crime analyst. Alexi is an amazing addition to our team, but she's only been here a short amount of time, so you will see for the next quarterly report and our yearly reports, definitely some changes to format. She's excellent. She understands the statistics, but she's also excellent in helping us present it in a way that I think will make more sense. So always appreciate feedback on that, but you'll see it a little differently this time, and it will continue to change as we have her with part of the team for a longer period of time. So I put that out there. And I just also, as we get into this, want to talk about the community engagement piece. We have hired an outside firm to do our strategic plan. That strategic plan will include outreach to the Fire and Police Commission, focus groups, just as when the city did theirs. So you will expect to hear from us and Jacob and Green. I'll make sure you get an email that will get routed through you through Barbara, and we'll get those set up in the next couple months. So there'll be, some of them will be virtual, some of them will be in person, but we will make sure that our goal is to make sure that multiple voices are heard within the community. We'll be doing using similar focus groups as the city did, and making sure we're hitting, different parts of the city, different parts in terms of not just the community, but also whether it's businesses or nonprofits, making sure that we're getting a good cross-section as well as input from the Fire and Police Commission. So you will be seeing that coming in the next couple of months towards you. We just did our internal, at a management level kickoff meeting, but we're being very intentional about this process. So, and if you are curious as to what the final product could look like, one example is this same firm did the one with San Luis Obispo almost 2 years ago. So you can see, if you go and look at San Luis Obispo's strategic plan, what in the end the final product will look like. And then our goal is to have ongoing transparency with the community on where we are and meeting the milestones within that. And there's a tool that we'll be able to use as part of the contract that we have with them to be able to do that. So I put that out there, like I have promised for the last 2 years, but now we're actually able to do it and budgeted to be able to do it in this fiscal year. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Commander Kasapis.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon, Commissioners. As Chief Gordon had mentioned, we have 2 reports for you today. The first will be our quarterly report on our mission strategies. I know we've gone over this before, but just as a reminder for anybody who's new to the meetings, mission strategies represents our department's holistic approach to providing public safety services. We break down this into 4 what we call quadrants here: reduce harm, relationship building, quality of life, felt presence, and service. Each quadrant has its own set of quantitative and qualitative metrics that we use to judge that performance. The first slide we'll look at, and we're going to look at 4, 1 for each quadrant. This will be reduce harm. This was largely focused on crime stats and arrest stats. We're going to go over both Q4 and also some year-to-date. We use what's called NIBRS, National Incident Reporting, and that breaks down crime stats into 3 larger categories. That's crimes against persons, crimes against property, and crimes against society. So for total offenses in Q4 of 2025, we had 431 crimes against persons, we had 612 crimes against property offenses, and 468 crimes against society. Down below, you'll see the same 3 categories, and we're showing arrests here. So we had 203 total arrests in Q4 2025 for crimes against persons, 110 in crimes against property, and 240 in crimes against society. Down below that, you'll see a couple other relevant numbers that we wanted to share. One would be DUI arrests, which we had 92 in the Q4. And then e-bike citations. This will be the new ordinance that was enacted last year, focused on e-bike safety. And we issued 57 citations total there in Q4. To the right of that, you'll see some year-to-date comparison. Up above, you'll see that we had a 1.4% decrease in crimes against persons year-to-date, an 11.3% decrease in crimes against property year-to-date, and an 8% increase in crimes against society. And down below, looking at arrests, again, year-to-date comparison, a 3% increase in arrests and crimes against persons, a 2% decrease, or 2.9, in crimes against property, and a 30.3% increase in crimes against society arrests. And then down below that, you'll see we had a 50% increase year-to-date in DUI arrests. Couple of things there to note. We do have a full-time DUI enforcement officer. He totals about 38% of all those arrests, but there's still a large portion there that's being conducted by our other directed patrol teams and also our patrol officers themselves. So this is a community priority and a priority for us for public safety. And then on the e-bike side here, you'll see year-to-date we have 258 citations for that municipal code ordinance. Our next slide here will focus on the quadrant of relationship building and quality of life. Again, same fashion. On the left-hand side, we'll go over Q4. We had 33 community engagement events. We had 139 co-response mental health assists. And then down below, you'll see e-bike presentations. So not only are we doing enforcement, we're focused on the big picture here, so part of that is also education. Those represent largely presentations that we've given at local schools and junior highs on e-bike safety. And then down below that, you'll see we issued just over 16,000 parking citations. Now, looking at the year-to-date comparison on the right, you'll see a 168% increase in community engagement events. Last year, you guys met Samantha Acosta. She came and gave a presentation. She has completed her first full year with us as a community engagement coordinator, done an outstanding job, and has really fulfilled both the chief's vision, our department's mission of making sure that we're engaging our community, and that number reflects that. You'll see a 17% decrease in co-response mental health assists year-to-date. And then we don't have total numbers for 2025. The program started in 2025, so we really don't have a year-to-date comparison. But so far, we've done 10 of those e-bike safety trainings and classes. And then you'll see a 19% increase in parking citations year-to-date. Now we'll look at the service quadrant. This is focused largely on response times and total calls for service. We're looking at priority 1, 2, 3, and 4 calls. You'll see that there's target time. So for priority 1 calls, our target time is 7 minutes of response time. We're averaging right about 5 minutes and 43 seconds. For priority 2, the response time target is 14.5 minutes. We're at 11 minutes and 57 seconds. Target 3 for priority 3 is 30 minutes, just over at 35 minutes and 23 seconds. And then for priority 4s, that's a 50-minute goal, and we're just over at 51 minutes and 7 seconds. Down below that, you'll see our total CAD calls for quarter 4. On-view represents calls for service that were generated by officers. This would be like a traffic stop, pedestrian contact, a focused area patrol. We conducted almost 5,000 of those, so 4,936. Public initiating calls for service are those that were called into our dispatch center. That would be 11,138. And then all calls for service that we took into our CAD system in quarter 4 were 16,981. A year-to-date comparison there on your right, you'll see that for priority 1 calls, our year-to-date average is 5 minutes and 37 seconds. For priority 2, 13 minutes and 6 seconds. For priority 3, 36 minutes and 31 seconds. And for priority 4, 50 minutes and 16 seconds. And then our call for service year over year or year to date, just about the same. We did run more on-view calls year to date in 25. Public initiating calls for service were very similar, and then we had a slight increase in total calls for service year to date. This is our last quadrant, I believe, which is felt presence. In this quadrant, we wanted to introduce, one of the things we wanted to mention for quarter 4 was we created a new directed patrol team. This was at Chief Gordon's direction, and what this is a team that is a specialized team that goes out and proactively looks into various crime trends, community concerns, and different efforts that are proactive as opposed to reactive based upon calls for service. That's a specialty position. It's what we call P1, so the rotational time is I believe it's every 6 months. What that does is a few things. It allows us to put a lot more officers through that. It allows for some career development and for some rotation. And also when those officers rotate out, they're able to take that new skill set back to their other duties as well. So it's a tremendous benefit to our community. Much like that team directed patrol, we have a community action team, which we've talked about as well. They do a lot of also community concern type crime-related issues. Total calls for service they ran in Q4, 1,193. Down below, that bar chart will show our what we call felt presence patrols. So these are focused area patrols where officers will go out and focus on certain areas of community concern, or also premise checks at a variety of locations. And so you can see we had 1,364 premise checks and 1,367 focused area patrols in Q4 of 2025. Year to date, our community action team had a total of 4,401 calls for service. That was a 16% increase year to date. And then you can see too that our proactive calls for service or felt presence patrols were up as well for 2025 over 2024. And that concludes our mission strategies report for Q4 2025, and we're happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission? Yeah, sorry.
I have a question for you, Commander. I think it was slide 2 represented the arrests, and I don't know if the answer is on slide 1, so I apologize. Is this misdemeanor and felony arrests?
Yes, it is. So it's for any crime offenses that fit within those groups, and they're both misdemeanor and felony offenses in those groups. So yes.
Can you tell us if there's an increase or decrease in felony arrests? For, at least for that quarter, maybe, or?
Commissioner, that's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head. That's something I could research and get back to you on, but I don't want to guess on that. So
No, and that's totally fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Hill?
I just had a question to get a better understanding of what crimes against society is comprised of.
Yes, Commissioner. Crimes against society, so the major ones that we deal with would be drug offenses, weapons offenses. That's the vast majority of crimes against society that you'll see noted there. This also includes things like gambling and certain other, like trespassing, some are minor offenses, but mainly weapons offenses and drug offenses.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Ellinger?
Can you describe an e-bike citation? What is an e-bike citation?
Yes, Commissioner. So we have a municipal code. It is new to the city as of last year. What it does is it lists certain behaviors. It mirrors the vehicle code. And so certain behaviors that would be unsafe riding, officers are able to stop and make enforcement action on that. It's a citation that's given, much like any other citation we would write. However, I think the big difference is it falls under the municipal code as opposed to the vehicle code.
And
This is what I was asking, so what is it, when the person gets the citation, what is it?
Well, but a large majority of these citations are issued to juveniles. And the whole reason that we did administrative citations versus the traffic court or criminal citations, so that we weren't criminalizing this, and most of them, not all of them, some of them choose not to, and their parents just choose to pay the fine, but they go to the CADA educational course that we have set up with CADA. So if they go and attend that course, they don't pay the fines, so it's clearly administrative. There is a progressive to it where if we have someone that gets multiple, then they could get multiple tickets, and we could get to the point where then we're not sending them to CADA again, we're just levying a very large fine. And we can also get to the point where then we, instead of issuing them administrative, we could go with a criminal, and we have had that where we have someone that, got 5 citations and didn't go to CADA, didn't pay their fines, continuous behavior. Then we choose to go a different route and issue them a criminal citation. And with a juvenile, what that typically results in is that goes to probation, and now they have no choice. They have to go to CADA, they have to go to teen court and do other things. So the whole purpose of this program is so that we're issuing the administrative citation, not a criminal citation, which allows us to hopefully change behavior and involve parents and make that behavior change. And I think we're actually being successful with it. I think we've seen, we have not seen the total, it hasn't been wiped out in terms of, the behaviors, but we have seen way more of our juveniles actually obeying the rules of the road, wearing their helmets, less riding through farmers market and some of the other things. So I'm very happy with the success of it to this point, and we're continuing to do more enforcement, but we're also continuing to do more education. So we're working to do bike rodeos. We now have officers that are trained in how to do bike rodeo classes, so that will be part of a program that we're working to do and get into the schools on a Saturday and offer 2 hours at a time, different bike rodeos, which are educational, but it also actually allows them to practice their skills. So this is an ongoing process. There's also legislation that we'll see what happens working its way through that would require them, all students who want to take their bikes to school, having completed a course. So I think we're in the right direction with this, and I'm happy with the results.
Thank you.
A follow-up question, what's the fine?
That's a good question. I think, I can't remember whether it was 100 or 2 for the first, it's like 100, 300, 500. I think that's what it is, but,
So that'll make some kids pay attention.
well, it'll make their parents pay attention,
Yeah.
because ultimately that's who's going to pay it. But like I said, if they go to CADA and they complete the education, that we typically waive that fee for that fine. Because the whole goal of this is to change behavior, so.
Of course. Thank you.
And Chair Hill, that's standard across our municipal code. So the fine from starting with $100 up to $500 is standard.
Chief Gordon, is the CADA educational course only available to those recipients who have received a citation, or if someone wanted to, say, be proactive and take the course, could they do so?
They cannot. That's why we're doing the other educational. There's a lot of other programs out there if someone chooses to do it proactively. We're also working with SB Move. We included them in our Office of Traffic Safety grants. So they're also doing education at the school. So it's a multifaceted where we're also working with our nonprofit partners and other organizations to educate as much as we can.
Great. And then also, you had mentioned the new analysts. Will there be new data? Will the analysts be collecting new forms of data, new information, or it will be the kind of the same information that's being, but just presented differently?
She'll be sifting through our data differently. You can expect you're still going to see the 4 categories because that's how we base what we do based on our mission strategies. So as far as your quarterly update, you'll see the same. We do have the intention of adding some additional categories because once a year you get a look at training and other things. So we do want to go and add some of that to the quarterly reports now that we will be able to do so, but that's going to take some time. Because that data also comes from a different place. So the goal will be to give you a little bit more, but this is pretty much what you'll still see in the quarterly. What our goal also is to get the forward-facing where you don't have to wait. No one in the community will have to wait. It will be, there and available on a regular basis on our website.
Great, thank you. And Commander Kasepas, because we had this presentation like a couple meetings ago with regards to the massage parlors and human trafficking. Where does human trafficking fall in terms of these group offenses? Is that crimes against a person? Is that crimes against society?
Yeah, there's certain elements that would fall under crimes against person and other elements that fall under crimes against society. Those are the 2 categories that they would fall under.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
No, you can't ask. Of course you can ask.
I was just curious, when you talk about educating the public, and especially juveniles, about e-bike safety, does the Santa Barbara School District, do they allow officers on campus to provide that education?
We've been working hand in hand with the school district. So these presentations that you see that we refer to have all been on campus and different campuses.
Like, is that K through 12 type situation?
Mm-hmm. Most of them
great.
are junior high because that's where we
Yeah.
see the biggest issue is with our junior high kids. So that's where a majority of the education is occurring, is at the junior highs.
Great.
And
thank
SB
you.
Move, and there's other programs to, rope in the younger students at this point, but our focus is we've really been trying to hit the junior highs. That's where our focus has been with our educational presentations. And it's multifaceted, right? This is now an opportunity because we have, mostly it's done by our traffic and our community action officers who are out on bikes, but also our officers that are, riding on the motors. So it's that education piece, but it's also an opportunity to connect with kids that may not
Yes.
have any type of contact with police other than negative when they get that ticket. So sometimes that same kid could get the education and see that same officer now stopping them. So it's building that, where it doesn't always necessarily have to be a ticket. Sometimes it will be, but it's building those relationships too. So they see it in both ways.
Education and trust building. I like it.
Any other questions or comments?
Just one, simply because I've got kids there. Does Santa Barbara Middle School get any of these? It's not a public school, it's a private school, but,
We work with all the schools.
Okay.
So we reach out. It doesn't matter whether you're public or private. We're here to serve the entire community, so.
thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing and hearing none? Thank you. Ms. Clerk, can you announce the next agenda item, please?
Item 10, quarterly reports on complaints of police misconduct.
So, Commissioners, this is our quarterly report on complaints received. So this will be for Q4 2025. This is part of your expanded duties and powers under the municipal code. The first thing we'll cover is the number of complaints our department received for sworn employees that were submitted in Q4. In Q4 of 2025, we received 2 community complaints for sworn employees. The second item we'll look at are the total number of pending complaints that we had at the culmination of Q4. We had a total of 4 community complaints pending at the culmination of Q4. The relevant policy sections for those 4 complaints included our policy section 320.3.2K, that's discourteous or disrespectful treatment of any member of the public or department. And the second was 320.3.5Q, failure to take reasonable action while on duty. And that concludes a report out on our Q4 complaints.
Thank you, Commander. Any questions or comments?
Could you remind me again, that's 4 complaints out of how many calls for service?
So I can look back to our previous slide here. So we had in Q4 a total of 16,981 calls for service, and we had 4 complaints pending. But in that time frame, we took 2 community complaints.
Thank you.
And I will comment not to take the wind out of Commander Sapp's sails or what we'll present in the end-of-year report, but I think we had 13 complaints for 2025 out of almost 17,000 calls for service. So whether that was proactive or called in.
Are the 2 community complaints from that last quarter for 2025, are those 2 represented in the 4 pending that you referenced in the open cases?
One of them is. One of those 2 was closed out prior to the end of the quarter, and then we also had 3 others that were pending, so for a total of 4. So one was concluded within the quarter and isn't reflected in that number 4. The other one is, along with 3 others that were still pending that we're trying to close up.
Great, thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Seeing and hearing none, thank you, Commander. Thank you, Chief.
Item 11, commission and staff communications.
Any thoughts, any communications, either from staff or, I'm just going to say as chair, there are going to be some changes around here.
Sit next to this wild man.
Oh, just teasing. Okay, no other commission?
Firing me while I wasn't here.
That's what you get for being late.
I just wanted to ask too if you had an opportunity to share kind of what your interests or topics or priorities are for the work plan for this coming year. Not to put you on the spot, but if you had anything top of mind.
I have nothing on top of mind. I think I shared some with you on our call when we were setting up the agenda. Do you remember?
Yes, and for our new chair and vice chair, we have a monthly agenda planning call, which is 2 weeks before our scheduled meetings. So I'll work with you to make sure that the time is convenient for you to participate, but we definitely work on planning the agenda for future meetings together. Thank you.
And that's the first thing that's going to change. No, I'm teasing. All right, any other last comments? All right, call this meeting to adjournment at 5:05.
I do have a last comment. I just thought of it.
You know.
I am a proud new board member of PAL, so I expect all of you to be at our fundraiser in May.
Right on. Well, given that, I'll follow that up as well. I was also appointed to the Neighborhood Action Commission or Council. Advisory Council. Geez, I got to get the name straight if I'm going to be on it. So that, I think, hopefully will be a good nexus with the work that we do here.
Perfect.
And I was reappointed to the Rental Housing Mediation Board.
All right.
Congratulations.
All right. At 5:06, call this meeting to adjournment. Thank you all.
Thank you.